Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with some more updates coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine. And once again, today we have so many updates to go over, lots of information coming out from this war. So I want to go ahead and dive right into this. A lot of this video today is going to be talking about massive attacks inside of Ukraine. We have multiple cities that were targeted. This picture that you see was a residential building that took a direct hit from a Shahed 136 drone fired from Russia last night. I believe Russia fired somewhere between 70 and 100 drones into Ukraine. Again, this is almost a daily that Ukraine is attacked by upwards of almost 100 drones, and many of these striking targets inside of Ukraine. As we can see, a residential building being hit. So it was a very active night last night leading into midday inside of Ukraine. Looks like there was 5 hours of drone attacks going on inside of Ukraine. We also have reports of several other regions being hit. We have some residential buildings that were destroyed in the Sumy region up near the Kursk region of Russia. We also have reports of Kharkiv coming under attack. Looks like we had a double tap missile strike to report there. Very sad situation over there as well. And I think also Poltava coming under attack. So we've got lots of attacks happening inside of Ukraine last night. Also, Ukraine launching drone attacks inside Russia. Looks like they targeted yet again another oil depot in the Stavropol region down near the Krasnodar region. This is like southwestern Russia. I'll show you guys that in just a little bit. We also have lots of reports coming out from Oleksandr Syrsky reporting that apparently they are facing Russia's heaviest offensive yet to date since this war began. So it looks like the Ukrainians are going to be put to the test here as this war is definitely expanding and becoming more aggressive. Okay, and also a $425 million aid package going to Ukraine. We're going to talk about that today as well, coming from the U.S. So just so much information to dive in, guys. I'm just going to go ahead and get right into this, start showing you some of these details. So we're going to hop on over here to Reuters real quick. It says Russia targets Kyiv in hours-long drone attack. November 2nd, 2024. This just coming out today. So we're just going to go over this briefly, then we'll hop on over to X. It says Russia unleashed its latest overnight drone strike on Ukraine, targeting the capital Kyiv in an attack that lasted into midday and wounded at least one person, city officials said on Saturday. Debris from downed drones struck 6 city districts, wounding a police officer, damaging residential buildings, and starting fires, according to city military administrator Serhiy Popko. Another night, another air raid alert, another drone attack. The armed forces of the Russian Federation attacked Kyiv again, according to their old and familiar tactics, Popko wrote on social media. So something just to comment real quick on this. When it comes to these drone attacks in Ukraine, and then when I mentioned to you guys that drones are literally fired into Ukraine every single day, imagine living somewhere right now. I feel very bad for anybody who's living inside of Ukraine or maybe even in Western Russia, the innocent civilians that don't want anything to do with this war, or even inside of Israel or Lebanon, where there's constant air raid sirens going off. Imagine trying to sleep and then you're getting woken up every single morning at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and air raid sirens going on extremely loud for 4 or 5 hours a day. Just imagine that. And imagine how tired people must be and the psychological effects on people that are being affected by this war. It's just absolutely insane to even think about. Very sad, right? All the drones aimed at Kyiv had been shot down, he said. Ukrainian energy provider DTEK said a high voltage power line powering the capital and 2 distribution networks in the Kyiv region had been damaged. So even more damage to Ukraine's energy sector. DTEK said in a statement that electricity had mostly been restored and that repairs were underway. Reuters correspondents reported hearing explosions in and around the city during an air raid alert that lasted more than 5 hours, guys. 5 hours, that's a long time. One drone was seen flying low over the city amid the din of automatic weapons fire. I'll have video footage to show you guys of one of these 136 Shahed drones flying very low over the city of Kyiv, the capital in Ukraine. And yeah, these drones definitely fly very low before they hit their targets, okay? So we'll show you that here in just a minute. So let's go ahead and hop into X. Let me show you some information over here. Again, so much information to go over. This is going to be a longer video today from Volodymyr Zelenskyy. The constant terrorist attacks on Ukrainian cities prove that the pressure on Russia and its accomplices is insufficient. Since 4 a.m. today, air raid alerts have been ongoing across Ukrainian cities. Tragically, the Russian drone attacks have caused damage and casualties in various districts of Kyiv, with additional strikes and damage reported in the Poltava, Sumy, and Kharkiv regions. I am deeply grateful to our defenders of the skies who have been successfully shooting down Shahid drones ever. This year, we have faced the threat of Shahid drones almost every night, sometimes in the morning and even during the day. These strike UAVs supplied to Russia by Iran have become one of the primary instruments of Russian terror against Ukraine. More pressure is urgently needed to limit Russia's ability to produce such weapons. We require the capability to destroy Shahid storage bases as well as the entire infrastructure for their production and logistics. Unfortunately, the terrorists know how to take advantage of the time granted to them by the indecision of the free world. So, as we can see again, definitely Vladimir Zelenskyy is very upset, okay? Excuse me. He is very upset at the fact that the West right now is just being so complacent. They are not giving Ukraine the tools and the abilities to go after these storage facilities for these drones that are constantly targeting Ukraine. I mean, Ukraine just struck a Shahid storage building recently that had upwards of 200 to 400 Shahid drones, but they're just using drones. Imagine if they had missile capabilities, they would be able to do this much more, but the West is obviously not allowing them to do so. So, we have Vladimir Zelenskyy very upset by this right now. And the longer that the West stays complacent and doesn't allow Ukraine to, for example, strike targets inside of Russian territory with some of these missiles that are being supplied to Ukraine, then we're going to continue to see attacks like this, and we're definitely seeing this. So these are pictures coming out from this attack of inside of Kyiv, targeting this residential building. There's some firefighters there trying to rescue some people that could be still trapped inside. Okay, also more pictures here of damage, probably on the other side of the building. Looks like there's some firefighter crews inside there with a flashlight. So very horrible situation, guys. Here's the report from Bliskovka. Air Defense Forces destroyed 39 out of 71 unmanned aerial vehicles. 21 drones were lost in location. 5 unmanned aerial vehicles returned to Russia. About 5 strike UAVs are in the air. Combat work continues. The Russians also struck with a KH-31P guided air missile. So here's a diagram coming out from today, November 2nd, 2024, showing 39 of these drones were shot down by Ukraine's air defense teams, okay? So moving on to another update, Maria Drutska, I woke up to the sound of Shahid drones being shot down nearby. Meanwhile, in another district, a high-rise building is on fire. Now these drones fly directly over residential buildings, making them harder to intercept. And so these Shahid drones, again, they fly very low, so it's very difficult for any air defense to take these out. So a lot of times, Ukraine will try to use small arms fire to shoot these down. And, sometimes it's effective, sometimes it's not. But we have a 16-second clip of this same building that took this direct hit when it is still on fire. Take a look at this.
Ребятки, жесть. Пизда. Ребятки.
Okay, so we can definitely see a direct hit on this building, and it is on fire. This looks like a residential apartment building, potentially. And obviously, Ukraine has been attacked a lot, okay? Kyiv was just hit just a few days ago as well. We had another residential building being struck by a Shahid 136 drone. So this is happening very frequently right now, and it's very sad to be seeing this. So we're going to move on to another update here from the Ukrainian Review. Russian drone attack on Kyiv. Fire and damaged apartments of a multi-story building. Also, fire broke out at a 9-story building. Debris reported in 4 districts of the city. Several people were injured. Okay, so we have been hearing of injuries inside of Kyiv. Thankfully, I have not heard of anybody being killed in these attacks, so that's a good thing. So we're going to go ahead and jump into these videos. I got a couple here to show you guys of these low-flying drones inside of Kyiv. So we'll start with this first one here. Okay, just a short 5-second clip. Somebody was able to capture this Shahid drone flying over Kyiv. And as we can see, they don't fly too high, maybe 200-300 feet in the air. This is what makes it very difficult for these to be shot down by air defenses, okay? So we got a couple pictures here to take a look at as well. There's a picture of this building on fire. Here's another picture after the flame was put out with these firefighters here going up to one of these windows that was burned out. And then we got one more video coming up. All right, so this is what targets Ukraine almost every single day, upwards of 100 of these. And you may not think they look too big. You might think, oh, it's not really that big of a drone. Well, I have shown you guys video footage of these things before. They are absolutely massive. They're literally at least the size of a car, sometimes upwards of the size of a small house. So they are very big drones, okay? So moving on to another update here. To next up, debris from a downed Shahed drone over Kyiv last night. Russia's reportedly launched another attack on the Ukrainian capital. So here's a video here of a Shahed 136 drone that was shot down, falling out of the skies over Kyiv. And then here's also a picture of that as well, okay? So they definitely did shoot some of these down. And then we obviously had some strikes inside of Kyiv as well. Okay, so moving on to another update from Nexta. Residents of Kyiv bring tents to shelter in the subway. That night, Russia launched a massive attack on the Ukrainian capital. So we got a picture here of somebody who brought a tent into one of the subways, as this is definitely where a lot of the Ukrainians stay at whenever these air raid sirens are going off. It's one of the safe locations for the Ukrainians to be while they're being attacked, as we've seen this time and time again. I've shown you guys lots of video footage of Ukrainians staying down here in the subways to protect themselves from these attacks from Russia. So very sad situation again for the Ukrainian people. Here's another report coming out from Kharkiv now, from Spravdy Stratcom Center. Minutes after initial strike with a 500-kilogram guided bomb on this residential building in Kharkiv, Russians wait for the arrival of rescue workers to strike again with the goal of maximum civilian casualties. The Russian airfield that launches these massacres is still under U.S. protection. So we have reported this before. We've seen Russia target certain areas of Ukraine, even in the Lviv region up on the western side of Ukraine, with these double tap strikes. So Russia will usually target one area with a bomb or a missile, and then soon after, about 5-10 minutes later, after the emergency crews arrive, they'll strike it again. So that's what this video is going to show. So we've got smoke here from an initial strike, and then you're going to notice that after about 10 seconds, you're going to see another strike here, which reportedly was a double tap strike inside of Kharkiv, Ukraine. 35 seconds, take a look.
Охуеть. Охуеть. Ебала собака лошадь.
Okay, we'll go ahead and stop it there, guys. The rest of this video is mainly just smoke. But as we can see, 2 direct strikes just in this area right here. And apparently there was emergency crews showing up soon after the first strike. That's when Russia went ahead and struck it again. Okay, so Kharkiv definitely is taking the bulk of the hits of what I have shown you guys in this war. Very sad situation for the people of Kharkiv. They are just getting smashed into oblivion over here with all these strikes. Okay, also the Sumy region once again coming under attack by Kate from Kharkiv. Russian drone struck a 9-story building in Sumy, injuring at least 5 people. Got some pictures here of some damage on what appears to be another residential apartment building. Lots of damage here. This car even destroyed as well, as we can see a drone taking a direct hit on one of these residential buildings in the Sumy region. Okay, so this is very close to Ukraine's incursion up in the Kursk region of Russia. This is just over the border into Ukraine, and Sumy has been taking major hits basically ever since the beginning of the Kursk offensive. That's when we've been seeing lots of strikes over here, and a large part of this could also be due to a lot of Ukrainians passing through Sumy, especially the city of Sumy, as they go through the Sumy region up to the Kursk region. So we started seeing major attacks up here in the Sumy region soon after the Kursk offensive. Now we've got this video footage to move on to from Slava. An oil depot in Svetlograd, Stavropol territory was attacked by a UAV. So no sound in this video. But this video is just going to keep rolling, but we'll see this container over here, the storage tank, taking a direct hit from a drone right there. Major explosion. And as you can see, Russia already has some cages installed over these storage tanks, oil storage tanks, excuse me, to protect them from these drone strikes. So it looks like we did have a fire breaking out here. I don't have any information as to if any of these oil storage tanks were destroyed, but definitely one of them taking a direct hit from a Ukrainian drone. So if we get more information on that later, I will update you guys on that. But as far as I know, we didn't have any massive fire breaking out here, just some security surveillance footage showing us a direct hit, okay? Now moving on to Colby Baudoir. The Department of Defense has announced Presidential Drawdown Authority Package number 69, worth $425 million. It includes the usual list of ammunition plus over 200 additional Stryker armored fighting vehicles. So here's a list of that $425 million aid package that was announced yesterday for Ukraine coming from the United States. So we're going to go over this real quick. Today, the Department of Defense DoD announced additional security assistance to meet Ukraine's critical security and defense needs. This announcement is the Biden administration's 69th tranche of equipment to be provided from DoD inventories for Ukraine since August 2021. The Presidential Drawdown Authority Package, which has an estimated value of $425 million, will provide Ukraine additional capabilities to meet its most urgent needs, including air defense interceptors, munitions for rocket systems and artillery, armored vehicles, and anti-tank weapons. The capabilities in this announcement include munitions for National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile Systems, also known as NASAMS, Stinger missiles, counter-unmanned aerial systems, also known as C-UAS, equipment and munitions, air-to-ground munitions, ammunition for high-mobility artillery rocket systems, or HIMARS, 155 millimeter and 105 millimeter artillery ammunition, tube launch, optically tracked, wire-guided tow missiles, Javelin and AT-4 anti-armor systems, Stryker armored personnel carriers, small arms ammunition, medical equipment, demolitions equipment and munitions, and spare parts, ancillary equipment, services, training, and transportation. So obviously a big part of this is the Stryker armored personnel carriers. Looks like they're going to be getting 200 of these, and then the usual weapons and ammunition that Ukraine typically gets, okay? So they're going to be refueling a lot of the ammunition for Ukraine to continue fighting. And then also now we have this report from the Kyiv Independent, Ukraine facing one of Russia's most powerful offensives since the start of all-out war, Sersky says. And if you notice, it's right around the same time that we're hearing that these North Koreans are joining the fight. So we still don't have any official confirmation coming out from Ukraine, United States, or NATO or anything like that, stating that Ukraine has officially begun fighting against the North Koreans, but we do have more reports today that 7,000 reportedly have been arriving on the front line close to Ukraine, ready to be deployed to some regions of eastern Ukraine. So it's going to be getting very interesting over here in the Eastern Front. Is Ukraine going to be able to hold back all these troops? Looks like Russia is launching a major offensive, and we also reported recently down in the Zaporizhzhia region, southeastern Ukraine, that Russia is preparing to launch a major offensive there, upwards of almost 200,000 troops potentially. So Ukraine's going to be in a difficult spot for a little while. At the same time, they're taking massive hits all across their territory, okay? From Kyiv Post, Zelenskyy calls out allies directly forbidding Ukraine from defending itself while North Korea enters the war. We know where the North Korean troops are gathering in Russia. We could act preemptively if we had the means, long-range capability, yet America, the UK, and Germany, they sit back and watch. Okay, so again, Volodymyr Zelenskyy very unhappy. Okay, here's a picture of him here. And he's very unhappy at the fact that there's basically been no response from the West. He came out and said that, I think, yesterday, that the West is just sitting back. They're not doing anything. There is absolutely no response. And now he's saying today that the West is just sitting back and watching, okay, while Ukraine gets attacked by these North Korean troops. So hopefully Ukraine can hold out and defend themselves. But Volodymyr Zelenskyy did come out saying yesterday that these North Korean troops would be eliminated and they would not survive this war, okay? Basically saying he would take all of them out, okay, or Ukraine would. All right, so now Bliskovka reports over the past week, Russia's deployed more than 7,000 DPRK army soldiers from the coastal region of Russia two areas near Ukraine, the GUR reports. The North Korean troops were moved with the help of at least 28 military transport planes of the Russian Air Force. Moscow armed them in particular with 60 millimeter mortars, AK-12 rifles, RPK, PKM machine guns, SVD, SVF sniper rifles, Phoenix ATGMs, and RPG-7s. They also received some night vision devices, thermal imagers, a collimator, if I'm saying that right, sights, and binoculars. Okay, so it looks like they are heavily equipped to fight against Ukraine. This was according to Ukraine's GUR, which is their military intelligence directorate. And looks like they're going to be heavily equipped whenever they enter this fight. Okay, so again, it's going to get very interesting over here. We'll see what happens and how Ukraine holds out against the North Koreans. Here's another update from South Korea as well. Next to reports, Financial Times citing sources, South Korea waits U.S. election before deciding on arms supply to Ukraine. Sources say Seoul's stance on lethal military aid shifted after reports of DPRK military involvement in the conflict. However, South Korean authorities have not officially announced a change of course, with only 13% of the population supporting direct military supplies to Ukraine. Additionally, the parliamentary opposition, holding a majority, opposes the move. Okay, so it looks like we could have a stalemate. Maybe South Korea will send these artillery rounds over to Ukraine. We've been hearing that they've been thinking about sending 155 millimeter artillery shells over to Ukraine to help them out. Also potentially sending military intelligence officers over to Ukraine as well to help out with interrogation of these North Korean soldiers, and also providing intelligence on how North Korean soldiers fight. And so that way Ukraine can have the upper hand to fight against these North Koreans. But we'll see if they get involved. We still haven't heard any official confirmation, but it looks like they're going to wait until after the election before making any kind of decision on getting involved. Also from Alexander, some U.S. sources claim that after the lack of Western reaction to the appearance of North Korean soldiers in Ukraine, Russia is actively negotiating the introduction of Iranian and Syrian regular armies into Ukraine. What an amazing result of the de-escalation policy, isn't it? Okay, so here's a picture of Jake Sullivan, the national security advisor for the Biden administration, says, why instead of de-escalating is escalation growing exponentially every day? Where did we go wrong? So this is obviously a meme to make fun of the Biden administration for not allowing Ukraine to strike inside of Russia due to what they fear is escalation from Russia. They're afraid that Russia may escalate, potentially even with nuclear weapons or maybe tactical nukes. So, we've been hearing this for a while now, that the Biden administration is very afraid of escalation from Russia, and that's a major reason why they're not allowing Ukraine to escalate, while at the same time, Russia's escalating, okay? So, as we've been talking about these North Korean soldiers showing up, it's major escalation on the Russian side, as now we have another country getting involved directly, not just sending weapons, but also deploying troops on the ground. And then as well at the same time, now we're hearing potential reports of maybe we could be having Iranian and Syrian regular armies joining this war as well. So will that happen? I haven't heard any official reports of that. But maybe that could be the case in the future. Maybe Russia could start going that direction, as obviously the West is doing nothing right now, even though North Korean soldiers are joining the fight. So let me know what you think of this down below. Should Ukraine be able to strike back inside of Russian territory? Should they be given escalatory permission to respond to the North Korean soldiers showing up? Let me know what you think down below, okay? Also from the Ukrainian Review, Ukraine is using dozens of domestically made AI-augmented systems for its drones to reach targets on the battlefield without being piloted, according to Reuters. Most FPV units target strike rate had fallen to 30 to 50%, while for new pilots that could be as low as 10%, and that signal jamming was the main problem. The official predicted that AI-operated FPV drones could achieve hit rates of around 80%. So it looks like Ukraine's trying to produce more of these AI-operated drones that wouldn't necessarily use a human to operate them, and it could increase their effective rate in use of these drones. And we've been seeing a lot of these. I think I have another post to show you guys of the Baba Yaga drone, which looks similar to this, which drops like large grenades or bombs onto Russian troops on the front line. So that was something big coming out today, and we should be seeing an increase in effectiveness with these FPV drones that Ukraine is using now that they're starting to use AI, okay? So, also from Glasnost Gone in occupied Crimea, troops know the Russian army is suffering heavy casualties in Russia's Kursk region. It's reported Marines from the 810th Brigade are giving bribes in order not to be sent to Kursk. Good news for Ukraine if Russia's depleting its Crimea garrison. So, it looks like the Russians are afraid to go to the Kursk region, according to this information, as we have been hearing that the Russians are taking heavy losses in the Kursk region. I mean, obviously, they haven't pushed Ukraine out yet. And we've been hearing that as the Russians launch major offensives to push Ukraine out of the Kursk region, at the same time, they take heavy losses. So it looks like a lot of the troops that could be deployed from Crimea on over to the Kursk region, a lot of times they will try to give bribes to some of the commanders in order to not be deployed over to Kursk, okay? So interesting information there. Also from Nexta, Ukraine to have its own cruise and ballistic missiles by mid-2025. Alexei Petrov, director of Spetstek Noak Sport, hopefully I'm saying that right, I'm probably butchering that, my apologies, shared this forecast. He stated that he had seen flight tests of domestic missiles. According to him, there are results. Okay, so we did hear recently that Ukraine had tested a ballistic missile and had a successful flight test. So it looks like by mid-2025, so by summer of next year, we could be seeing Ukraine using more cruise and ballistic missiles. If this war continues on till that point, it looks like it may, especially if we get Kamala Harris into office. There's a big potential this war is going to continue. But obviously, if we get Donald Trump, it could go really any way. We don't really know what's going to happen yet. But that was some big news being reported today. We'll see what happens by mid-summer of next year, as Ukraine is probably going to start striking targets inside of Russia. Depending on how many of these missiles they have available, they may not have a huge supply of them starting out by mid-summer of next year. Okay, also, Max 24. USA announced a transfer of American strategic bombers to Europe. U.S. bomber crews will train and operate alongside NATO allies and partners for several weeks, demonstrating the U.S. commitment to global security and stability. So it looks like a major exercise going to be taking place in Europe. Here's a B-52 strategic bomber that will probably be sent over to Europe as well. Probably multiples of these in a show of force to Russia. So expect that coming in the near future as well. Moving on to another update from Roy. A 40-kilogram, very big drone bomb is loaded under a heavy drone. These are called Baba Yaga drones, okay? I wanted to show you guys this, as we've been talking a lot about these FPV drones, and I've shown you, or talked about footage on X that shows these Baba Yaga drones being used. And a lot of times they drop these bombs on like trenches, a lot of, wounded Russian soldiers on the battlefield. They'll use these a lot of times to finish them off. I've seen lots of video footage. A lot of that, unfortunately, I can't show here on YouTube. But these are pictures of some of these drones that they use, okay? Look at the size of that bomb that is used. Pretty massive. And it's amazing that a small drone like that can carry a very heavy bomb. So, Ukraine uses a lot of these FPV drones, lots of different styles. We've even seen some with RPG launchers attached to them. AK-47s attached to them. So lots of different variants of these FPV models have been introduced in the Ukrainian army. Also from Max 24, Kadyrov plans to send 84,000 Chechens to the war. He claims that Chechnya has fulfilled all the tasks set by the Kremlin in order to avoid mobilization. That is, it was possible to attract this number of terrorists voluntarily, Center of National Resistance reported. So this could be huge, okay? 84,000 Chechens coming over to fight against Ukraine. This makes sense why we heard recently Ukraine was going to be mobilizing 160,000 troops to fight against Russia. Obviously, they are having issues with numbers right now. We've been hearing about this for a long time. This could be very dangerous on top of North Korean troops showing up to fight, potentially 84,000 Chechens. Now, we'll see if that gets confirmed later, but this information was just starting to break today. Okay, also from Nexta, Russia's central bank chief, 21% interest rate is not the limit. Okay, so we've been talking a lot about Russia's economy recently. And we have this report today from the chief of their central bank in Russia saying that their 21% interest rate right now is not the limit, that it could go much higher. So clearly, Russia is experiencing major inflation right now. We've even reported to you guys that butter prices inside of Russia are absolutely through the roof right now. Even some shopping stores, or grocery stores, have had to box up and put anti-theft devices over butter inside of the stores to prevent them from being stolen. So Russia's economy is definitely being battered right now. We have been seeing this, and it looks like they could be raising their key interest rates even higher than 21%, which is already at a 40-year high, according to some sources in Russia, okay? Finally, one last thing I want to share with you guys from Tendar, who is a major supporter of Ukraine for a very long time now, says, I have been covering the war in Ukraine since the very first day in 2014, and I can assess that we are now at a final crossroads. There is a possibility to conclude the war in a positive way, but also a threat for the exact opposite. It is only determined by us and what we do in the coming few weeks and even days. If we abandon Ukraine, and I see certain elements in the West already laying groundwork to do so, then I promise you total escalation with absolute certainty. We won't be able to stop what would come. It would be war all around the globe, using all our weapons and all our arsenals, and not one person, even the most powerful person in the world, would be able to change the trajectory once this course has been set. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys this. This came out yesterday from Tendar, to kind of close up this video and share some talking points down in the comment section as well. So let me know what you think is going to happen, especially after the elections in the United States. Obviously, if we get a Kamala Harris administration into office, maybe this war is going to continue. And we've heard a lot from Donald Trump that if he gets in, this war could potentially come to an end. Now, we did also hear from Volodymyr Zelenskyy that he would try to convince or persuade Trump to not just end this war the way that maybe he wants to, which was kind of forcing Russia, from what we've heard, or forcing Ukraine to cede the territory that's been lost already over to Russia, create a demilitarized zone on the eastern side of Ukraine potentially as well, and kind of freeze the conflict right there. Now, would that be the case? Would Russia accept that? Would Ukraine accept that? Let me know what you think down below. I think this is a good talking point to kind of close up the video based on what Tendar was saying here. And it's definitely going to be interesting these next few months, especially even the next few days when we find out who the president in the United States is going to be. And, we'll have to see what's going to happen here. But just wanted to share some updates for you coming out from Ukraine and Russia today. I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.